Did you know that some of the vitamins you take every day could actually be making your legs weaker? Last month, my neighbor Martha, at 72, couldn't understand why she suddenly needed help getting up from church pews. "I'm doing everything right," she insisted, showing me her impressive lineup of daily supplements. Yet those very pills she thought were keeping her healthy might have been sabotaging her leg strength. Martha's story isn't unusual. I hear similar concerns from seniors across the country every week. Remember when getting up from your favorite chair was effortless? If that's becoming harder lately, your supplements deserve a closer look. What I discovered shocked Martha, and it might surprise you too. Before we dive in, I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your city in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe for more senior health truths. Now, let's start with the most surprising vitamin that could be silently affecting your mobility right now. Number 1. Vitamin B6, Pyridoxine, when too much hurts your nerves. Let me tell you about my friend Frank. At 68, this retired postal worker was the picture of health. Rain or shine, Frank walked 4 miles every day. "It keeps me young," he'd always say with a smile. But last year, something strange started happening. Frank began feeling an odd tingling in his feet that made him unsteady. "It's the strangest thing," Frank told me over lunch one day. "It's like I'm walking on cotton balls. I can't feel the ground properly anymore." Worried, he mentioned it to his doctor, thinking it might be diabetes or just part of getting older. After months of different tests and growing frustration, Frank's doctor finally checked his vitamin levels. What they discovered shocked them both. His vitamin B6 levels were sky high, nearly 5 times what they should be. The culprit? Those energy supplements he'd been taking faithfully every morning, plus his multivitamin and the fortified cereal he ate for breakfast. Without realizing it, Frank was overloading his system with B6. You see, vitamin B6 helps your nerves function properly and converts food into energy, things we all need as we age. But here's what many doctors don't explain. Unlike some vitamins that flush out of your system easily, B6 can build up over time. When levels get too high, it can actually damage the very nerves it's supposed to help. My doctor explained that I was essentially giving my nerves too much of a good thing, Frank said. It's like watering a plant. A little helps it grow, but too much drowns it. The recommended daily amount of B6 for seniors is less than 2 milligrams. But when Frank added up what was in his supplements, he was getting over 40 milligrams every day. Many energy formulas and senior multivitamins contain much more B6 than we actually need. Frank's doctor had him stop the supplements and focus on getting B6 naturally from foods instead. He started eating more chicken, bananas, potatoes, and chickpeas. All good natural sources of B6 that the body processes differently than the synthetic form in pills. 2 months later, Frank called me, excitement in his voice. "I can feel the sidewalk again," he exclaimed. "I went for my walk this morning, and for the first time in months, I could actually feel the ground under my feet." Frank's story isn't unusual. Many of my senior friends have experienced similar problems without realizing the cause. Now Frank carefully reads every supplement label and asks his doctor before taking anything new. "I thought I was doing everything right to stay healthy," Frank told me recently. But sometimes less really is more. If you've been experiencing unusual tingling, numbness, or trouble with balance, take a look at your supplements. How much B6 are you really getting each day? Your legs might thank you for making a simple change. Now, have any of you experienced something similar? Share your story in the comments below. And let's move on to another common supplement that might be affecting your leg strength in ways you never expected. Number 2, calcium supplements. When bone health affects muscle strength. My sister-in-law Eleanor, at 75, was absolutely religious about her calcium supplements. Every morning with breakfast, she'd hold up her calcium pill like it was a trophy before swallowing it down. "I'm not going to break a hip," she'd declare with determination. "Too many of my friends have gone down that road." Eleanor did everything the health magazine suggested, took her calcium faithfully, exercised at the senior center 3 times a week, and ate a healthy diet. So when she fell in her living room last year, we were all shocked. But here's the irony. It wasn't weak bones that caused her fall. It was muscle weakness in her legs. And the surprising culprit? Those very same calcium supplements she thought were protecting her. When her doctor ran tests, he discovered something interesting. Eleanor's calcium-magnesium balance was completely off. "My legs felt like they belonged to someone else," she told me. "They just wouldn't cooperate when I tried to catch myself." Eleanor's doctor explained it to her using an analogy she still uses today. He said, "Think of calcium and magnesium like salt and pepper. They're meant to be used together. Too much salt without pepper ruins the dish." In our bodies, calcium helps muscles contract, while magnesium helps them relax. When you have too much calcium without enough magnesium, your muscles can become stiff and weak. "All these years, I've been loading up on salt and forgetting the pepper," Eleanor laughed. Her doctor suggested cutting back on the calcium supplements and focusing on getting both minerals from food instead. Eleanor started eating more yogurt with almonds, adding leafy greens to her smoothies, and snacking on figs and cheese. These foods naturally contain both calcium and magnesium in balanced amounts that her body could use properly. The change wasn't immediate, but it was remarkable. Within 3 months, Eleanor noticed her legs felt stronger. The heaviness started to fade. 6 months later, she was climbing her porch steps without holding the railing, something she couldn't do even when she was faithfully taking her calcium supplements. "The funny thing is," Eleanor told me recently, "I thought those pills were my insurance policy against falls. Turns out they were actually increasing my risk." Her doctor explained why food sources work better. "Your body knows exactly what to do with the calcium in your morning yogurt, but those high-dose pills were confusing your system. Our bodies were designed to get nutrients from food, where they come packaged with all their helper nutrients. Now Eleanor has a simple rule. If I can get it from my kitchen instead of my pill case, that's what I'll do." If you've been taking calcium supplements for years and have noticed your legs feeling heavy, weak, or uncooperative, you might want to talk to your doctor about your magnesium levels. Sometimes what we think is protecting us might actually be holding us back. Has anyone else noticed changes in their strength after adjusting their calcium intake? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story might help someone else who's struggling with the same issue. Now, let's talk about another vitamin that's often recommended for seniors, but can have surprising effects on your leg strength when taken in excess. 3. Vitamin D. Sunshine. Vitamin's surprising effects. My walking buddy Bob is quite a character. At 70, this retired high school teacher has always been passionate about health research. So when he read about vitamin D online, he jumped in with both feet. "I'm investing in my health," he'd tell me, proudly showing me his high-dose vitamin D supplement. The article said most seniors are deficient, especially in winter. Bob started taking 5,000 IU daily, much higher than the recommended amount. He was convinced more was better. But within a few months, something strange started happening. Bob began experiencing mysterious leg cramps that would wake him at night, leaving him pacing the bedroom floor in pain. "The first time it happened, I thought I was having a circulation problem," Bob told me. "The pain was so intense, I almost called an ambulance." Even more concerning, his wife noticed he'd become unusually tired after our usual walks. Bob, who typically led our little senior hiking group, was now trailing behind, complaining that his legs felt like lead. When his doctor suggested testing his vitamin D levels, Bob was confident they'd be perfect. The look on his face when his doctor showed him his blood work was priceless. His vitamin D levels weren't just good, they were dangerously high, causing a condition called hypercalcemia, where too much calcium builds up in the bloodstream. Bob explained it to me using an analogy from his grandchildren's visits. It's like when my grandkids overfill the bird feeder in my backyard. Some seed is essential for the birds, but too much attracts pests and the excess just rots on the ground. My body didn't know what to do with all that extra vitamin D. What Bob didn't realize was that vitamin D's main job is helping your body absorb calcium. When you have too much vitamin D, you can end up with too much calcium in your blood instead of in your bones where it belongs. This excess calcium can cause muscle weakness, fatigue, and those painful cramps Bob was experiencing. His doctor helped him develop a seasonal approach instead. In summer months, when Bob spends more time in his garden, he skips supplements entirely. In winter, he takes a much lower dose, just 1,000 IIU, and focuses on vitamin D-rich foods like salmon and eggs. Now I get my levels checked twice yearly and adjust accordingly, Bob explains to everyone at our retirement community center. It's not one size fits all, and more definitely, isn't always better. The change in Bob was remarkable. The night cramps disappeared first. Then his energy started returning. Last week, Bob beat me to the top of the hill on our walk, something that hadn't happened in months. I thought I was just getting old, he admitted. Turns out I was just overdoing it on vitamin D. If you're taking vitamin D supplements, especially high-dose ones, and experiencing unexplained fatigue, weakness in your legs, or muscle cramps, consider talking to your doctor about checking your levels. What works for one person might be too much for another. Have you or someone you know experienced surprising effects from vitamin D? I'd love to hear your story in the comments section. Your experience might help someone else who's struggling with similar symptoms. Now let's look at another common supplement that might be secretly draining your energy and leg strength. 4. Iron supplements. When strengthening actually weakens. My neighbor Ruth is one of those unstoppable 81-year-olds who puts people half her age to shame. Her vegetable garden is the envy of our neighborhood, and she's usually out there from sunrise to sunset during growing season. But last year, something changed. Ruth started struggling with unexplained fatigue and heavy legs. She'd come in from just an hour of light gardening completely exhausted. "I don't understand it," she confided in me over tea. "I'm taking all my vitamins, eating well, and still my legs feel like they're filled with concrete." Ruth always kept iron supplements in her purse. "My mother was anemic, so I take these just in case," she explained, showing me the bottle. Better safe than sorry, right? What Ruth didn't realize was that her preventative approach might actually be causing her problems. When she finally mentioned her symptoms to her doctor, he suggested testing her iron levels. The results surprised them both. Her iron levels weren't low, they were actually too high. "It felt like I was wearing ankle weights all day long," Ruth described her symptoms. "Even walking to the mailbox became a chore." Ruth's doctor explained something fascinating. Unlike younger women who often need iron due to monthly blood loss, most seniors, particularly after menopause, rarely need iron supplements. In fact, our bodies become more efficient at storing iron as we age, and we have less way to get rid of excess. "Your body is storing iron like a squirrel hoards nuts," her doctor told her, "and it's becoming too much of a good thing." He used an analogy that Ruth, as a gardener, immediately understood. Just like overwatering can drown your plants, too much iron is drowning your energy. Excess iron creates something called oxidative stress, essentially causing rust inside your body, particularly affecting your muscles and making them less efficient. Ruth's doctor recommended stopping the supplements immediately and focusing on balancing her iron intake naturally. He also suggested adding foods rich in substances that help control iron absorption, like coffee, tea, and certain whole grains with meals. The transformation wasn't overnight, but it was steady. Within a few weeks, Ruth noticed she had more stamina in the afternoons. The heaviness in her legs began to lighten. 3 months later, The difference was remarkable. Last summer, Ruth tended her entire vegetable garden herself, something she couldn't imagine doing the year before. "I harvested 87 pounds of tomatoes," she told me proudly, "and my legs felt strong the whole season." Ruth now laughs about her iron supplements. "All those years I thought I was preventing problems. I was actually creating them. My body had plenty of iron already. It didn't need more from pills." If you've been taking iron supplements without a diagnosed deficiency and find yourself unusually tired with heavy, weak legs, consider talking to your doctor about checking your levels. Many seniors are actually at greater risk of iron overload than iron deficiency. Has anyone in your family experienced something similar with iron supplements? Share your story below. We learn so much from each other's experiences. Now, let's talk about our final vitamin, one that many take for heart health, but could be silently affecting your balance and stability. 5. Vitamin E. When protection goes too far. My brother-in-law James has always been methodical about his health. At 77, his pill organizer is a marvel of organization, with different supplements neatly arranged for each day of the week. "I take vitamin E for my heart and brain," he'd explain while sorting his weekly pills. "It's an antioxidant, fights aging." James had read that vitamin E could help protect against heart disease and memory problems, so he faithfully took 400 IU daily, plus whatever was in his multivitamin. But something concerning started happening. James began having trouble with the 3 steps to his back porch. At first, he just held the railing more firmly. Then he started bringing his groceries in through the garage to avoid those steps altogether. When family came to visit, we noticed James was walking differently, cautiously, with his feet wider apart, as if he wasn't quite sure of his balance. When I gently asked about it, his answer surprised me. "First, I was just being careful," James admitted. "Then I realized I was being fearful. I don't trust my legs anymore." After a particularly alarming moment when he nearly fell reaching for a book on a low shelf, James finally mentioned these balance problems to his doctor. After ruling out several possible causes, his doctor suggested something unexpected: reducing his vitamin E supplements. It turns out that while vitamin E is important for many functions in our bodies, too much can interfere with vitamin K, which plays a crucial role in blood clotting and muscle function. High doses of vitamin E can also thin the blood too much, affecting circulation and sometimes causing dizziness or unsteadiness. The doctor explained it like this, James told me. "Vitamin E is like a security guard for your cells. One guard at the door is protection. 20 guards crowding the entrance just creates confusion and blocks the way." James's doctor recommended he stop the vitamin E supplements and focus on getting this nutrient naturally from foods instead. James started adding more almonds, sunflower seeds, and olive oil to his meals, all good natural sources of vitamin E that come with other beneficial nutrients. "Now I get my vitamin E from my breakfast, a handful of almonds and sunflower seeds on my oatmeal," James explains. "My body seems to know what to do with vitamin E when it comes from food." The improvement in James's stability was gradual but unmistakable. 6 weeks after changing his routine, James demonstrated his progress by walking a straight line across his living room, something he couldn't do confidently before. The steps to his porch no longer seemed like a mountain to climb. "I thought more protection was better," James reflected, "but my body needed balance, not barriers. Those extra vitamin E pills were actually making me less steady on my feet." James now asks himself a simple question before taking any supplement. Is this something my body really needs more of, or am I just taking it because it sounds good? If you've noticed changes in your balance or stability and take vitamin E supplements, this might be worth discussing with your healthcare provider. The very supplement you're taking for protection might be affecting your mobility. Has vitamin E or any other supplement surprised you with unexpected effects? Share your experience in the comments. Your insight might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. Now that we've covered these 5 common supplements that could be affecting your leg strength, let's talk about some simple ways to naturally support your mobility and independence. Now you know the truth about these 5 common supplements that could be weakening your legs. Remember, what works for your neighbor might not work for you. Our bodies change as we age, and sometimes less really is more. Start by checking your supplement labels today. Could any of these be affecting your strength? Consider getting nutrient levels tested before supplementing, and whenever possible, choose food sources first. Your independence and mobility are too precious to risk. Small changes now could mean stronger legs tomorrow. As my friend Eleanor says, listen to your legs. They're trying to tell you something. What supplement surprised you most? Share below.